Hi, welcome to the next episode of Grand Line Grinders podcast. This is episode 7. So today is going to be slightly different than normal. Today we're actually going to be talking about one deck, get down into the play lines, play patterns, get into a little bit of gameplay. That way you have a little bit of information how to play the deck. And we're going to do our closing thoughts after about how we feel the deck may be in the current meta, what to know more about the deck after we play a little bit of games. Maybe 1 or 2 games, I don't know. So that's what we're doing today. If you like this, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. And so we're just going to go ahead and hand it off to Mr. Steven.
Yeah, this is a deck that we've been playing. Well, I know me and Dad have already been playing a lot. I think Kevin has as well. But it's a deck I was really excited about. I think there's a lot of different cards you can put in the deck, which is weird considering it's a dual color leader where you have almost no black cards in, 1 or 2 here or there. But it uses a lot of the strong cards in the meta right now. We're talking about, 6-drop Luffy, both the BL Luffy and the Gatling Luffy. We've got, of course, Gum Gum Giant, and another card that's really, really strong in the meta right now is the 9-drop 10k Rush Luffy. The 2020 Chopper is super important in the mirror as well to get those Dawn rested. Really feels good. Can suffer a little bit in some matchups, especially the more aggressive ones, if you don't quite see what you need to see. But yeah, how you been finding it, Dad Half-Breed?
I've really been enjoying this deck just because, I'm like a bit of a masochist in the sense that, I never want to play the tier 1 deck. I just can't get myself to just play the tier 1 deck, the best deck in the format. But I still want to play a deck that's good and has good cards in it. And so that's kind of what led me to this, because I really loved playing Bonnie, but I just could never find a way to beat Blue Purple. And I really liked playing Buggy, but I just couldn't find a way to beat Green Purple. So I kind of had to put those decks to the side, and I was like, fine, I guess I have to join the Gum Gum Giant train because I don't really feel like picking up Bello Betty. So I've been liking this as an aggressive list that plays Gum Gum Giant, but also has its own plan. And of all of the purple Luffy decks, this is also the cheapest to build, which was a huge draw for me. You can not play the 6/7 is just like a spicy 1-of or whatever. You can not play it if you don't want to, the Jet Gatling one. So in theory, you could just get 2 starter decks of the black purple. And as long as you get Searcher Law and the 9-10 and Sanji, that's it. So I think you get this deck for about $100, which is not too bad, at least in comparison to the $200+ that blue purple and green purple are. And regular purple as well, since you don't have to buy Mr. 2s.
Yeah.
And I like that this deck ends games, right? It has an aggressive plan. You end the game, because that's kind of what I didn't like about blue purple, that it just takes so long to win often. And I think this deck is in a good spot. The general plan of the deck is just you have 3 types of cards basically. You have counter cards, you have ramp cards, and I guess you could say you have defensive cards, which are counters and blockers. You have ramp cards, and you have rush cards basically, right? And I don't know, it's not exactly the same, but I classify the Modelo Luffy as a rush card because when you play it, it instantly gives your leader +2 and helps you get an extra damage, right? And it's just pretty easy to consistently play a ramp card, play a rush card, play a rush card, try and kill them and not die with Gum Gum Giant, right? So
yeah, so this is the deck list that we have kind of formed up, and so we have a total of 8 1-drops. So ideally this deck doesn't really need to be either on the go first or second. So depending on the matchup, if you know the opponent's deck wants to be on one or the other, make sure you snatch that from them. Ideally your first turn is always just going to be a Law or a when you're fighting pirates. And then you're going to follow that up trying to search for, if you don't have a ramp spell, you're going to pick your worst, get one of these 2 rampers. But your second turn is just going to follow up with a Zora or a Nika Robin. Preferably always Zoro because, I mean, it's not a 2K counter, so always try to prioritize playing him. And then following suit, depending on the matchup, you have your three turn. If it's a aggro matchup, you might want to attach one Dawn to your leader, play a Sanji, blow up their small thing, or you might play one of the other two Luffys. And then the following turn, your ideal is Sanji and then into a Luffy, closing it out. Depending on the matchup.
Yeah.
Anything I missed?
I would say that going second is slightly better in the deck, just because going second allows you you play Zoro on 4, which puts you to 5, and then you untap with 7. That lets you play the Modelo Luffy, and often also play a 3-drop, which is nice. So often I'll just like play a Nico Robin blocker or a just play one of the 3-drop blockers, and sometimes. Because a lot of people, I guess what I would want to say is a lot of people forget that with Zoro, you don't always have to Dawn -2. It is 1 or more. So if you just play Zoro and you Dawn -1, it's basically a 2-cost 5K, which is good to just sometimes get out on the board and get the counterless card out of your hand. But if you go second, it lets you go Zoro on 3, and then you untap with 7, and you can play Modelo Luffy or Sanji. And then you untap with 9, and you can slam the 9-10. If you go first,
it does make the beer.
It takes you one more turn to play the 9-10, but
it does make the beer Luffy a little worse, because if you go first, technically they will be up 4 Dawn when you're actually putting him down. You do get to untap one and put it to your leader, but that is a little bit worse instead of them being on at 6
at 5 Dawn, yeah.
They'd be at 6, right? They would go first. They would be at but they would go second first. Yeah. They'd be at 5. Yeah. Which would mean that immediately you would get your 2,000 bonus. But like I said, this deck I think doesn't really matter if you know your opponent wants to be on second. Like Blackbeard might be a little weird. But everyone else, I think they prefer to be on second. Always go second, or vice versa.
Blackbeard is definitely one of the worst matchups for this deck for sure. Like the less Jet Gatling Luffy you have in your deck, the worse the Blackbeard matchup gets. Because the 6/7 Jet Gatling is the only thing that really can still activate its effect with Blackbeard still going on. Because like. Modelo Luffy becomes only when attacking. Sanji can't gain rush. The 9-10 can't gain rush. You can't ramp either with any of your cards because it's all on play. So there are some tough matchups out there, but the main thing is you're pretty decent against all of the other purple Luffys because of how good the 9-10 is.
I definitely agree with his original sentiment. This is probably the best deck. If you're looking into getting into purple Luffy decks, start with this one. Go to your LGS, get some credits, use that money, invest into whatever other purple Luffy deck you want, which this is a great starting point. So you can eventually get into Great Luffy or into the other ones later after you can get your Mr. 2s or your Gum Gum Gatlings Luffys.
Yeah. And like the 9-10 and Sanji are just like generically good purple cards, right? You can play those in a lot of different purple decks and still have them be good. So
yeah,
I think they're just good things to buy. I guess Uso Hachi is the one kind of expensive card. It's kind of funny that Uso Hachi is more expensive than the Secret Rare. I think it might have gone down now because of the reprint. But at one point, Uso Hachi was $12 and the 9-10 Secret Rare was 10. So
yeah, this is 11, and this one dropped about 9.
Okay.
Yeah, but still, and Uso Hachi is using like every purple deck.
Yeah,
even Katakuri is using it.
But like that one, you can wait. You could play some other Straw Hat 2K, right? You could play the Sanji, that's a little cheaper, or you could play any Straw Hat 2K in that slot and just wait for the Uso Hachi reprint, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, but the weird part is Sanji's also getting reprinted, so it's like they both are going to collapse together.
Yes.
So this is the deck we're going to be piloting through a match or two. And we're going to go get right into that. So we're going to go ahead and get into the meta real quick and then talk about how this deck could function into this meta.
Yeah.
So Bella Betty is still increasing its run rate. Yamato is on the map now, which is based.
Yeah.
Not
Bello
with the,
Betty
not,
and Yamato being more played is one of the biggest reasons to play this deck. Because of the fact that you have Beer Luffy, like Beer Luffy helps you from losing to Bello Betty so much. Because the difference between being at 6K leader and being at 4K leader when they play a Karasu on you or whatever, right? It's like night and day. So the Beer Luffy helps you a lot in that matchup, and 4 copies of the 7 drop helps against Betty as well. But yeah, it's worse against other decks, but I think it is the most aggro resistant Luffy right now.
Yeah, and you can still kind of pop off, like we did in the first game, where we could put you can still put so much pressure on the game. You're still quite an aggressive deck, but you have some defensive lines and you have Gum Gum Giant, so you can very much cheat out extra turns and still clear a lot of stuff. Whether you're playing the Sanji or Gum Gum Lightning or whatever it is, you can still kind of clear a bunch of annoying things in the meta right now that are a little bit more mid-rangey. Obviously, we can't play Katakuri's very well with this deck at all, but we can punch through them with the 9-10.
Yeah.
Right, so this is the most winning version of the deck. Comes to Yamato. So 4 ski pieces there, playing Hody Jones.
We can still just see the sim.
This is the deck. So when it comes to playing Purple Black Luffy, what key cards do you need to be the ones targeting in this matchup? I get Hody Jones. This is the finisher. Is there any cards that you should be scared of? Like you need to be prepped for? I mean, he does play 9-drop Zoro in this build. How does Purple Black Luffy stack up against like dealing with Zoro?
Oh, you can't beat that card. You got to kill them.
Yeah.
You hope you have enough pressure on them that when they play it, you can kill them after. Yeah, the Secret Rare Zoro is very tough. But yeah, I mean, this matchup, the scariest card is just Ezo, right? Like trying to make sure you don't get hit with double banish. So often you just have to accept that you like are going to be at a lower life total. And it's like, especially the first hit of like, letting them hit you the first time is almost always correct. And you might think that like, oh, but they get to activate their leader effect. But it's like, that doesn't matter. It's way scarier that like they get to double strike banish you before you have counter to defend yourself from that. Yeah. So it's like, as long as you're making sure you're set up to not get double strike banished, it helps a lot. And like the cheap blockers help, right? The like Nico Robbins and Choppers. But the name of the matchup is just find Beer Luffy. Dear God, please find Beer Luffy ASAP.
Yeah, it definitely helps with Yamato, because it does care about hitting your leader quite a bit. And more than
ramp, by the way. Like if your hand has ramp but no Beer Luffy, I would still mulligan that because we want Beer Luffy.
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that they cut the 2-drop Nami. I don't think it was all that impressive. You don't need 8 copies of a banish. I think having 1 copy of Zoro is really nice in this instead. At least that gives you some other alternative way winning the game and playing pressure.
Yeah, there's definitely some questionable things in this list in terms of like the random 1-ubs. But the main thing that I like about this list that I definitely agree with is 4 copies of the blocker Momo. That card is gas. It's very, very excellent in terms of like, your deck is aggressive but fragile, and this like does it all in terms of it gains you a life, keeps you alive longer. It is a blocker, and it can also attack well, and it's searchable, and like yeah.
Honestly, I think this deck should be playing more of this. You have basically 18 bricks.
Yeah.
Plus your extra things down here. That's a lot of bricks. Actually, no, 19. No,
that's fair.
PS of Zoro down here. But
I think Zoro's definitely a little greedy, but I can understand the idea of like there's some matchups that are just so defensive that you just want to have this thing that you can play.
I imagine it's just maining there for Cade. Like
that makes sense.
I don't think this deck ever punches through Cade. Like it's just at least that way you've got a pretty decent chance. But
Especially behind Rosinante, right? Because Rosinante just ignores all of your rest effects.
Do you do Kid? You do Zoro. It should be able to get through the Kid.
12k 3 times is going to kill a kid for sure.
All right, so we did showcase the match against Luffy. I think definitely the 9-drop Luffy is one of the best cards in this matchup. You have 4 copies. So that really helps, I think, with this particular matchup. You have anything else to say about it? Like, Surge, any other card you're looking for?
I mean, the 9-10 is just like one of the best cards in the deck, period. Like, I think the entire deck is just like 9-10 and Beer Luffy. Those are the 2 cards that like win you the most games, provide the most pressure, are the best like against the current metagame right now in terms of like really good against all the 6K leaders, right? And helps keep you alive. The fact that the 9-10 draws a card is just so good.
It's so nice.
Keeping you gassed up with stuff. It's so good.
It plays itself. And
Dawn is like super nice text as well, because then you can put 2 Dawn back a bunch of times and still get your leader effect off. So it's an 8-10 rush. Just it does a bit of everything.
So I think we could talk about Betty and Zoro in one clump because they're basically kind of similar when it comes to the cards you really want. You really want Sanji against both of these.
Yep.
And I think Sanji also is really good into either one of these. Just tapping one of them down, getting at board is just kind of a huge breaker. And the fact that we have like dedicated 6 slots to the aggro matchup allows us, I think, actually to have that advantage.
Yeah, it's really 10 because the Beer Luffy is like a hell of an anti-aggro card too.
Yeah, just popping your leader up to 7 and smacking into really any small character.
If they don't have if Zoro doesn't have Gum Gum Mulgun as well, the 6-7 all of a sudden becomes a real issue for them.
So next on this,
kill it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they just can't really kill it because then you just defend that. You take the first 2 life, go down to 2, hide behind your 7Ks and you're fine.
The Zoro matchup's definitely a little bit worse than the Bellometti matchup because they have Mulgun and they have the like shut up and come with us, which can be really annoying because like you kind of have to attack them. You guys are in a race situation, so if they high roll with the shut up and come with us, it's pretty tough, but
okay. Yeah. So how do you guys think we stack up to Green Brad Smoker? Like, what cards are you looking to see in this matchup?
The most busted card in the matchup by far is the Black Sanji. Like, if they play like if they play a
Tashigi,
what is it? If they play the Smoker, the 5/7 Banished Smoker, and they don't immediately follow it up with the Tashigi, you can blow up their 5/7 and stop them from ever really like starting to get their leader effect off, which is really strong. And like Tashigi in general isn't as scary against this deck as it might be against some others because you have the 7-drop Sanji to like rest the Tashigi, just attack into it, and then do other stuff. And like I've had some really good turns where you're on 10 Dawn and you play Modelo Luffy to get yourself to 7K and you get 1 untapped Dawn. And so then you can also play the 5-drop Sanji. And then because you have a 6-drop in play, the 5-drop Sanji triggers and you pop something, and like that's a really good turn.
Yeah, Honey Jones is still a nightmare though. Smoker can definitely just blow you away. Like honestly, even for these matchups in particular, I think Smoker can honestly blow you away a lot easier than Bellobetti can. I think Zoro still and some versions of Smoker are running like 3 to 4 Mulgun, and that card versus us is like that's good night. That's tough.
Yeah, because I believe it's it's gotten a little worse into Blue Purple Luffy, but it still has a pretty and Purple Luffy. So maybe it's not as bad as it used to be. It's 43.8% win rate.
I mean, I think these stats are getting dragged down by people that are playing bad versions of the deck, because I think the biggest trap you can gauge in with the deck right now is playing like 4 copies of the Jet Gatling Luffy. Like Jet Gatling Luffy is kind of a trap right now, and so is the Frankie, just because like there's so many matchups where Jet Gatling Luffy is just too small. Like all of the stuff they're doing is bigger than it, and it's just also super risky. It just turns it into either you kill them or you die, rather than like giving yourself a few extra turns to, survive a little bit more, right? Like So it's nice to have as like a one or two of to like finish off the game, right? As your like last play when you know like, oh, okay, this is gonna kill them. But like when you just play a 6-7 rush and attack and then you say go after that, that's just like not good enough right now, you know? That's just like not threatening enough.
Okay, so next up is Teach.
This is a really bad matchup.
Yeah. This is the totally counter what Dan Harper just said. This is where the Gatling Luffy really kind of shines. You need to see that and just pray they don't remove it. You know, if they've got like Van Ogre on 5 into 7 drop, then you've probably lost the game, regardless of what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
But it's still a tough matchup for Blackbeard to play really, really effectively. Like, if they misplay, you can punish it with this deck. It's just very, very hard. Like, it's such a difficult matchup.
Yeah, because I mean, their entire game plan is to start countering from
Yeah.
turn 4 and on, and just turn off your on plays forever.
You can't ramp against them. You can't.
No, I
You know
mean,
they
they
can
rush
one
against
ramp
them.
They typically let you ramp. They don't.
Once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they let you ramp on turn 2. That's because they don't want to exhaust too many resources in a very grindy matchup. So they typically will let you do this one time, but when it comes to when you're on your 6th dawn or later, they start actually just turning it off. So this is good. This is actually probably going to be the most interesting. How are we into Buggy?
The matchup's not bad. Honestly, the best card against Buggy is the 7-drop Sanji. That's one of those cards where like if they're trying to play like Alvida's down or something like that, because they have to play something else. Obviously, if they play like, first of all, you can basically ignore the promo Buggy, the Bootlicker Buggy. That card doesn't affect you at all, really.
Yeah,
and
turn off your Zora.
Yeah. Second of all, if they ever try and put any of the 4 costs down, right, like the Alvida or any of the blockers, it's just easy for you to play the Sanji, rest their Alvida, and then try and clear it. And like even just clearing one character means it takes them one more turn to get to 10-drop Buggy. And if that's true, that's one more turn that you could be attacking them.
Yeah,
and
really, actually, either one of the Sanjis seem like they're pretty reasonable. 5 or less, like most of their stuff are 5.
Yeah, the black one can get canceled out by the Crocodile Mihawk effect, right? So they can discard a card to save it, but they can't stop the 7-drop Sanji, right? Like it only stops them from getting removed by an effect. So if you rested and attack into it, it takes them off of their 10-drop Buggy for a long time potentially, and that whole time you're attacking them with good threats.
Medalla Luffy puts a lot of pressure on that as well, on the game. Like being a 7k leader means they don't want to swing with their characters a lot of the time as well, because they're scared of getting swung back into and removed. So when you're a 7k leader, it means that leader's not swinging into you, then you can just get like this free kind of chip damage, and you just kind of kill them over 3 or 4 turns.
So one thing you gotta keep in mind is like sometimes you probably want to save your Sanji until the very end. Most part, I think all of their blockers are Sanji's tappable.
Yeah,
because
the biggest thing they have is the 6-7
primary.
Mihawk.
Some play Richie, but for the most part, they usually play 4 Mihawks. So just tapping down a Mihawk and just swinging for game is a line you'll probably see quite often. Which is why 4 Sanji is actually really good. And it's actually just more than that because you have a Law and the other Searcher. We have Bonnie coming at 4th place.
Scoop.
Yeah, that's the worst matchup. The 2 very bad matchups for the deck for sure are Bonnie and Teach. Like those are your 2 worst matchups. Everything else it feels like you could get 50-50 into, like close to, especially if you draw well. But yeah, Bonnie and Teach are just not winnable.
Okay. How about Grape?
Grape is not too bad.
No, it's fine. It kind of standard game plan against Grape. Hopefully they don't spam the ball with too many Sanji pudding. If they don't have stage, you can kill it with your 5-drop Sanji.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, 7-drop Sanji can get the Gatling Luffy.
Yeah, then if they ever swing with it, you've got your own 9-drop Luffy kind of swing 10 into 7, which is normally a pretty good number unless they've got a Don up. And even if they do, making them go down to like, 4 Don on their fourth turn's pretty solid.
And that's probably honestly the best matchup where Gatling is going to matter. Just having a
Yeah,
0
triggering
drop. Just
triggering it can be good, having extra waves, but like the matchup against GP is not that bad because like they have a bunch of 7K characters and they're going to be pinging you for 7K, which would be scary, which can be scary sometimes, but if you're a 7K leader, it's not nearly as scary, right? So
same with the Gatling Luffy. Like when you're a 7K leader, all of a sudden it drops and it's like, oh, I just need to defend like maybe it's 2 9K swings, which is like barely very easy in this deck. So it's fine. It's not as much to be scared of.
And we talked a little bit about Bell Betty. When it comes to talk about Zoro. So the last one, but is the boogeyman of the entire format, or the game in general, Blue Purple. So I definitely know we're going to be the aggressors in this matchup. Like we definitely need to be really, really aggressive. And this is kind of where Sanji actually helps. It's just another one that's a 6. So easily you could start attacking with it as a 7, 8. Making sure you just pile through. What else do you guys like about this matchup? Or don't?
The Medalla Luffy, unsurprisingly, Medalla Luffy is very, very good in that matchup. And again, you're looking to play that into 9-10. Yeah, the 9-10 is really, really awkward for them to get rid of because if they do Red Rocket, which is basically their only answer, it means they're not playing a Katakuri, they're not playing a Sanji, they're not playing a 9-Mom. You can put a Don on the leader to make sure that 6-drop Luffy becomes a 7 cost so it can't get 9-Mommed. And if that happens, you normally win the game. If that doesn't happen, you probably lost the game.
Yeah. Blue Purple is a matchup where it really is like you have to draw a 9-10. If you don't draw a 9-10, you just don't have any reasonable threats because they can like kind of get rid of or ignore everything else. But if you can ramp into 9-10, it's very big just because the 10K at 6K is very tough for them to deal with, right? They need Gum Gum Giant plus a card, or they need to block with Katakuri plus Giant or whatever, right? So the 10K swing is very big there, but if you don't have it, it can be very rough. And the worst thing for you is definitely if you play Modelo Luffy and they have the 9-drop Mihawk. That's like worst case scenario where they use Mihawk to bottom deck your Luffy and then you're not 7K leader anymore. So there's ways you can like brick in the matchup and not have enough to do, but the easiest way to win that matchup is to just play 2 9-10s and then it's very hard to lose from there.
I don't think this is not really a matchup. I guess Sanji only really taps down Nami.
Yeah.
It can be worth to like kill a Mr. 2 or whatever. Also, the 3-drop Chopper is so clutch in that matchup sometimes. You just play it the rest of the Dawn and then...
Yes.
Also, it's essentially a 2-Dawn blocker in that matchup as well, which is like super annoying for them to deal with. It does often just eat a swing. They can't really do much about it. It's a really, really good card in that matchup.
Yeah, the blockers in general are good there, like Nico Robin in the late game to help you find more stuff. Because they don't want to spend like 5 Dawn on a God's Thread or use their 9-drop Mom to get rid of your 1 Nico Robin blocker.
Yeah. I mean, Nico Robin probably mostly shines, in the Bell Buddy and Zoro? Or is there some other matchups?
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about her, and she should get a little bit of spotlight.
There's a lot of matchups where Nico Robin is nice. It's just one of those cards that's good at like extending the game 1 extra turn. And like in the early game, it can often help you find stuff that you need, right? Like a lot of times I talked about if you go second on 4 Dawn, you'll ramp to 5 and then you untap with 7. And if you play Modelo Luffy and then you'll have 3 untapped on and you can just play the Nico Robin and you'll be at 7 Dawn most of the time there, right? Yeah. You'll be at 7 Dawn. So even if you Dawn minus, you'll be at 8, which means you can still like play your stuff and then untap with 10 the following turn. And it's best when you don't already have a 9-10 in hand, right? Just like helping you find one. Because that was the big thing that it felt like, we have these 2 or 3 cards that the deck is really, really leaning on heavily, right? It's like Beer Luffy, the 9, 10, and Giant. And you really want to find them. And so just having that extra couple of ways to search for it helps a lot.
Actually, I think the deck probably highlights the best against is Yamato. I mean, because you really want to she's really great at stopping a Yamato attack. That's probably where
Yeah,
she
you just block.
actually probably is the all-star. And
Just a good cheap blocker, isn't it?
Yeah.
so, you have anything else to say about this deck that you guys want to highlight?
I like it. I think it's in a decent spot. It's not the craziest deck out there. It's not like that broken. But I was talking about Steven earlier, and I do think that like right now it's pretty close in terms of is purple Luffy better or is black purple Luffy better, right? It's like a toss up. Like purple Luffy is definitely better against the blue purple deck, but black purple is definitely better against like the aggro decks, Bella Betty and Zoro. But when OP13 comes out or OP12, when OP12 comes out, I think it's going to be pretty definitive that the black Luffy, the purple black Luffy, is better than mono purple because there's a card in OP12 that's just like completely broken in this deck. It's the 6-drop Nico Robin.
Yeah, so Nico Robin is dropping out in OP12.
It's a black 6/7.
She doesn't really have
this card is so degenerate. It's so good, and it fills everything that the like purple black Luffy wants to do. It provides you with another solid blocker. It's hard to kill. It gives you a way to pitch your extra bricks if you need it. And it like provides card advantage in terms of like getting cards out of your opponent's hand, which makes it easier to go for lethal with your like 9, 10s and rush Sanjis in the following turns.
And honestly, this card on 6 Dawn is a very good play. Right now, if you don't play Modelo, the deck's like a kind of a weird spot where a bunch of the 6 Dawn players just don't feel that impactful. This is a very good 6 Dawn turn, which is like really, really nice because it's a backup to Modelo.
Because there's basically no way that they don't have 5 cards in hand on 6 Dawn. Yeah. It's like impossible, right? If you're going first and you ramp and then you attack them for 7, what are they supposed to do with 6 cards in hand, counter out of your 7k, swing, and stay at 5 life just so they don't get hit by this the following turn? It's like not...
And even then, playing down a 7k blocker is fine.
Yeah.
Like, even without the on-play effect, it's not the end of the world.
So what are you looking to take out of the deck? Is it Gatling?
Definitely the Sanjis. And Steven was talking about there may be a world where you go down for... You take less 9/10s and you just make your deck like all about 6 drops and 7k swings over and over again. And like...
So if you're thinking
playing more of the Gatling makes sense if you have a good blocker, right? Like that was kind of my big problem with the Jet Gatling Luffy is it feels like, okay, I kind of want to play Jet Gatling Luffy and Katakuri because I need a blocker that helps me not die if I play this Jet Gatling Luffy. And so this card helps you a lot with that. So there may be a chance that you go down to like 2 9/10s or whatever. And you just play 4 of this and then maybe even like, I don't know. You could maybe start getting rid of the smaller Nico Robins, but you definitely start with getting rid of the black Sanjis and go from there.
Yeah, like I was kind of wondering because I mean this doesn't have any counter on it. I was thinking it kind of stinks if you get rid of Nico Robin because it is a 1k counter, which does have value. So I could see the need to cut the Sanji.
I'll have to see what like the meta kind of shapes up to because again, purple and black have a lot of really good cards. Like just generically just really good cards. Purple way more than black right now. So if the meta becomes more aggressive, then yeah, we could probably take out counterless cards for this blocker. But if it slows down a little bit or there's a certain matchup you need to tech in for, there should be more than enough cards to do that.
Yeah, and of course we get another boost with PBR2 with the new. It's a Nami, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drop Nami, which does it have a counter on it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, that
2-drop counter, and it also has trigger. It plays itself on the trigger.
So I kind of wonder, maybe should we actually, if you run this as four Namis, probably could cut Nico Robin at that point because you're basically replacing
I think you
this
just
1K counter for the other 1K counter with Nami and trim back.
You can put Nico Robin to 2 because taking out the 4 when you're at sea and replacing them with something that has counter makes a big difference for sure. And then I guess I would start with cutting 1 Nico Robin and 2 Sanji, and I would start playing with 3 copies of the Nico Robin. And then you got to decide of like, is it really the case that Nico Robin makes the Jet Gatling better? Or do we just want to cut the 1 Jet Gatling and be like 4 Nico Robin, 4 Beer Luffy, 4 Sanji, 4 910, right? And then we really got like a suite of some beefy Straw Hat Crew cards that are really strong.
Yeah. Did you get anything else to say about the deck before we close it out?
Not really.
No,
I like it.
It's good. It's pretty fun to play as well. 7K leader goes brr.
Yeah. It's crazy that this is kind of like the fair deck or whatever, right? Like in terms of the Luffy's, right? Like this is the Luffy that is doing stuff that is the most fair, which is like kind of why I like it, but also kind of why it's not on the leaderboard right now or whatever. But
you get a lot of good games with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not even like you stomping. It's just you get a lot of just good games out of the deck, which feels really nice.
Yeah, definitely this one and Purple Luffy is the more fair ones for sure. All right, so
and I think this deck will still be good if they ban Gum Gum Giant. Like I do. Yeah. Like the 7K leader is still good even if you don't have Gum Gum Giant.
The question more is what are you going to be putting in the spot?
I mean, you definitely play 4 Jet Gatling. The question is just what else? But that's an entirely different world.
This card got me a little questioning. So I wonder if they're going to reprint this or not.
It seems like
one. So it will rotate.
It seems like they're going to make these evergreen somehow or reprint them with a new set symbol just because like they now have alternate arts for all 6 of them and there just are like generically good cards that feel good to have in the metagame, right? They like allow you to, it is a boring card that allows you to play other good, interesting cards. So I think it's a good thing to have in the metagame in general.
Gives life to bricks.
Yes. And everybody always wants to slam as many bricks in their deck as possible because often the counterless cards are the ones that do the really cool, really broken things, right? That's why they have the counterless downside. But, you know, the zero cost events just help like glue the room together. And it's going to be really awkward if rotation happens and some decks have zero cost event and some don't.
I imagine that they got to reprint it. Is OP 13, is that going to be in this before rotation or after rotation?
It's before.
Okay.
Yeah.
That surprises me then. I would have thought they would have just moved not put these in BBR2 and put them in I
think rotation is 17, right? Is 17 every
2027?
OP 17, I think.
Oh, okay.
We'll rotate 1, 2, 3, 4.
Or next spring. The rotation's next spring, right? 2016, 2026. Because they only keep three numbers in. So 1, 2, 3, rotate. 1, 2, 3, I thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly if the rotation happens as the second the set symbol 4 drops or what.
Yeah, April 1st, 2026.
Oh, it's 2026.
Okay, that's OP 14 then.
Okay.
But it's only 1 to 4 that's going to be rotated out.
Yep.
Which isn't bad at all.
But I think it's just the ones with the 1 symbol down here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and then they'll drop the 2s. Okay, so let's go ahead and ship it off to Dahapri for the closing statements.
Yeah, the metagame's like fine right now. It's not nearly egregious as it has been in other times where like one deck is clearly dominating. Like Blue purple is the best deck in the format, but it's not winning like every single tournament the way Doflamingo and Law and Sakazuki were. But I think we're definitely still in a spot where like everybody knows that bans are probably coming. So the big thing is figuring out when are bans coming, and is it going to be Gum Gum Giant and Blue Purple Luffy, or just one or the other? And then we'll have to see after that. That's what I'm really waiting for. But until then, I'll be testing some OP12 stuff, messing around with stuff. It's been pretty fun, but I still think we're doing all right in the game overall. How about you, Steven?
Yeah, it's I've been playing a lot of rematch, so not really. Still been playing a lot of rematch, but no, I've played a few games here and there. I think the meta game, like you said, there are a lot of good decks right now. Like a lot of decks where they are very competitive. The gap between the competitive decks and the rogue decks, I think, is growing. That's like the one thing that I will say. Like, you're either playing like one of these top 10, 15 decks, or you're losing. That's like the one thing I will say. But I think the game's getting better. I think that gap is hopefully closing. We'll see what PRB 2 does with some of these kind of interesting cards that are kind of getting released in it. It's nice that we're actually getting new cards in the PRB 2 as well, as very key cards dropping in price. It's going to make the game more accessible, which is really, really good. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of Luffy. There's a lot of anti-Luffy decks out there. But it's in a pretty good spot. You get a lot of good games, which is nice. Like there's not that many one-sided stomps, which feels pretty good. How about you, Kevin?
All right, so closing out. So make sure you look in the description. Follow all of us on Twitch and follow us, subscribe to us all on YouTube. They're all in the description. I just reached affiliate, so it's exciting stuff for me. And overall, I'm very excited about this deck. If you have any questions at all about this deck, we will address them either in the comments or we'll address them in the next podcast, like always. So go ahead and make sure you leave comments down there and questions about this deck. I do think this deck does pretty well into the format. And if you are a purple fan, I think this is a great starter deck. It's much more simplistic than the other starter deck that I think would be purple. Katakuri's a little bit more. You need a little more knowledge how to pilot that deck. But I think this is a great deck to start with if you're interested in getting in, especially into Straw Hats. So overall, this gives me a thumbs up. I like this deck. I've been playing this deck a lot on stream. So has the Half-Breed. So we've both been playing it, trying to get prepped up for this podcast. Let us know if you guys like this kind of series, so that way and what leader you want us to address next. I would assume Bonnie's probably going to be one of the first ones, just because these two love their Bonnie.
I think we're going to have to hold off on that one until Blue Purple gets banned, because that matchup is zero fun.
Okay. Smoker may be next. Smoker's at least decent into both of them, I think.
Yes, yeah.